Hello there, Kenny Durkin here. This is the Monarch Public House. It is the oldest operating tavern in Wisconsin. It's in Fountain City, and there's a few things that appeal to me about it. One is it's an Irish pub, which is really hard for me to pass up. And two, it's themed with dragons. And so I thought when I visited Wisconsin a few months ago that I would surprise them with a 3D printed dragon that I designed. And so the first thing I did was, well, I can't improvise and sculpt yet. Maybe someday I'll be able to do that. I'm really good at sketching and improvising, but the first thing I had to do was have a sketch to work off of. And so I designed this little dragon with a little t-shirt on him that has their logo, and beer and some bangers and mash, which is Irish dish, in his hands. And I took that sketch and I imported it into Nomad Sculpt, which is the sculpting program that I use. This is a really sped up video. I mean, really sped up. But basically, sculpting in 3D is much like sketching on a piece of paper. You start with the large shapes and block it all in, and then you add the details. But you have to have the basic structure figured out first. So this is just a little video of me trying to figure out how this character is going to work in 3 dimensions. And something that you have to consider if you're going to be 3D printing is how it's going to work in the real world. How are physics going to affect the design? If you have a character that's got tiny little legs, or is top heavy, or is in some kind of dynamic pose, you may need to have a base. In this case, he's got kind of a big bottom on him, so I didn't need a base for him, and as long as I had him kind of balanced out, he would sit really well on the shelf. And so I'm just kind of blocking in all the big shapes and the figuring out how to get him to work. And from here, you see what he looks like so far. I've sculpted his whole body. I've got the beer in his hand. I still got to do the bangers and mash. But these little turnarounds kind of help me as I'm going. And I'll even download them to my phone so I could walk around with it and look at it every once in a while. And that really helps, if you've been looking at something for so long, to take a break from it and you can see the problems with it. And the first thing I saw was that bottom had to be flattened. But once I had the sculpt figured out, I could start printing it. And so I printed him in sections. I'm just going to walk you through some of the prototypes that I've been working on. I thought maybe for the beer that I would print it with translucent filament so you could see through it, and then you could see the beer on the inside. And so what I did was I actually sculpted and printed this with translucent filament, and then I had a cylinder that I did kind of in gold with the white hat on top. It's a pretty good look. There's a few things I want to change so you can see through that a little easier, but it's a kind of a neat effect. Also, this prototype is about twice the size I'd need it. This is the actual size. It's only about 1 inch tall. I printed it the same way, but like I said again, I'm gonna do some things to it to make it even better. I'm not really happy with it completely, but it's a good start. And then the bangers and mash is also just one separate piece, and I would just paint all that. For the dragon, I thought I would, at first I thought maybe I'd print it in separate pieces. So I'd print all the green pieces together, the head, the arms, and the body, and then print the black t-shirt separate. And then kind of glue all this together. And then I thought, well, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts on the body that it's glued, plus 5, 6, the beer end. So it's 6 places where it's glued. And I think I prefer it to be a little more solid than that. So then I tried printing it all in one print. And it actually printed pretty well. Wouldn't be too hard to paint that just the way it is. So that might be the direction that I go in. This green is also too dark. So I have another green coming that's a little lighter. And I could work a little bit more on the details. We're losing a little bit on the ears there, and like to smooth those eyes out a little bit more and stuff. But it looks pretty good. So I'm getting there with this. So we're gonna keep working at it. So this is the 8-inch version, and I got the new filament. I like that color a little better. You see that back there? That's a lighter green. And I also thought, well, I know I made him 8 inches tall, but what if I made him 10 inches tall? And so that's what I'm doing right now. So we'll see how he turns out. This is not the kind of thing you want to wake up to. I had this printing throughout the night, and it looks great until you get to the face. I'm not sure what happened in there, but this is this is what the advantage of printing everything separately does, is that, you know, I don't know how to salvage this other than to, you know, chop it off here, like really chop it off and reprint that, or down here and reprint it. But that's the advantage, and then reprint it. But that's the advantage of doing it separately, is that you don't ruin an entire print if something messes up. God, that looks like a horror movie. Well, I just stepped on this thing, and it's like, what the heck is that? Well, it looks like it's the bottom of his mouth. Like it came off. I started printing a bottom, and it looks like the same thing happened. This part popped off. So there's some sort of problem with the speed in which this is printing, or something's going on, that it's the layers aren't adhering to each other. So I'm gonna keep going with this. Here he is, the full-size dragon, finally printed. Bunch of different sections on him, but he came together really nicely. I just have to do a little bit of sanding, some light sanding, and just take care of a few little areas on him, and then I can start painting him. And then once he's painted, he's done. After I had him completely sculpted, there's a few sections on him that I had to paint, and I just used acrylics. I painted the whole face and a bit of the belly, and then of course the bangers and mash as well. Here's the final result. He's able to twist at the waist and the neck, so they can do some dynamic posing on him. I wanted to do some sort of rub-on transfer decal for the logo on his shirt, but that didn't really work out, so I had to print a sticker instead. So that's the only part that really bugs me about this. But for the most part, he turned out great. Thanks for watching, everybody, and stay tuned. I got a lot more to show you.